الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. So now, continuing on the different rights of brotherhood and sisterhood in Islam as well. وَمِنْ حَقِّ الْأَخِي عَلَى الْأَخِي. This, every one of these points, he starts out with this. وَمِنْ حَقِّ الْأَخِي عَلَى الْأَخِي. So I won't translate it every time, but it means that from the rights of brotherhood, from the rights of one brother on another. Yesterday we talked about hiding the flaws and not looking for faults in others. And I told you that I would give you the poem that from Badshah Zafar. MashaAllah, 2-3 people, they shared it with me. Habib Bhai shared it, and Hafiz Taha shared it. He said, "Na thi hal ki jab apne khabar, rahi dekhte ghairon ke aib o hunar, padi jab apni buraiyon par nazar, to nigah mein koi bura na raha." Right? Padi jab apni buraiyon par nazar, to nigah mein koi bura na raha. So that's the thing. We have to look at our own faults, not worry too much about others, unless it's somebody whose responsibility we have been given to keep an eye on. At that point, we have to be very critical. Teachers have to be critical of their students, parents have to be critical of their children, but in a way that builds them up and doesn't break them. أي يحمل, so the rights are, the next right is أي يحمل ما يراه منه على وجه من التأويل, that they interpret any negative thing that they see from their brother with a charitable interpretation, meaning you give some explanation for it. Okay? جميل ما أمكن من تأويل جميل ما أمكن, as good of an explanation as you can give. I'll give like a silly example that happened with me the other day. This was right before Ramadan. Osama bhai, he has a store, Hunger Fix, right? I try to support it. We should all the mashallah brothers that have businesses now in this area, we should try to support them. We really should, because they're providing halal options. They're working hard, and it's a good thing. I was going there. What happened is I happened to drive past it, because that plaza is like a little bit hidden. It was dark. So then I pulled into the middle lane, and at night, Orchard Lake is kind of busy. And like where I was, like the partition, whatever, it ended. So I had to turn, and it was kind of hard to get back in the lane. So where I turned into, there happened to be a liquor store in that plaza, right? And so I went in there. And now when I made the U-turn to come out, it takes like a few minutes because all these cars are coming. Now somebody, if they see me in my car, and my tasbih hanging from the thing, or they see my face in there, I say, okay, Imam Sahib is leaving from a liquor store, right? Well, there was an explanation, right? There was some explanation. So you have to try to give a explanation to somebody, right? Whatever, I'm just an example. So, but it is from the rights of brotherhood that whenever we see our brother doing something wrong, we try to interpret it in the best way possible. فَإِن لَمْ يَجِدْ تَأْوِيلًا. But if we cannot find any charitable interpretation, رَجَعَ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بِاللَّوْمِ, then we should blame ourselves. We should blame ourselves that, why did I see him do this? Why can I not think of why can I not have husn zan of him? وَفِي وَصِيَّةِ سَيِّدِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ الدُّسُوقِي. And he said, and in the wasiyah, the last advices of Ibrahim ad-Dusuqi was لا تنكروا على أخيكم حاله. Do not object, do not judge your brother based on his condition, his circumstances, where he is in life. Somebody's out of a job, somebody's going through difficulty, somebody looks disheveled. Don't judge them for that, They might be very eminently qualified at what they're doing, but Allah didn't write that person's risk in that place at that time. All of us, if we're honest and we look in our lives, we had classmates and friends who went in the same career path as us. and they were more talented than us, smarter than us, better looking than us, harder working than us. But Allah has made it such that from a dunyawi perspective, we're more successful than them, right? And it had nothing to do with any of these factors: intelligence, hard work, smartness, whatever. Wala libasahu, and do not look down on your brother based on his clothing. Wala ta'amahu, nor his food. Wala sharabahu, nor his drink. فَإِنَّ الْإِنْكَارَ يُورِثُ الْوَحْشَةَ وَالْإِنْقِطَاعَ عَنِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Because objecting and looking down and judging people leads to wahsha. Wahsha means like a state of uneasiness within a person, where when Islam teaches us to be positive. At the most difficult times, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would pull out positive things, right? Would pull out positive things. For example, at the time of Hudaybiyah, such a stressful time, when the Quraysh sent Suhail bin Amr later, radiyallahu an, in order to negotiate with the Muslims, at that difficult time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Oh, Suhail," means, it's from the word sahal, which means to be easy. Sahul al-amr, the matter is going to be easy for us, right? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would pull out positivity wherever he could. Ali radiyallahu anh, he had a son, so he went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "I named him Harb, war." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "No, he's not war. His name is Hassan. He's good." Second son, he said, "I named him Harb." Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "No, he's Hussein." Third son, that we don't know too much about him, Ali radiallahu anh named him Harb as well. Rasulullah said, "No, he's Muhsin." Right? All things having to do with good. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very positive. When a person is negative, it dominates their thoughts and it pulls a dark cloud on you. Right? So this is what he's saying. وَالْإِنْقِطَاعَ عَنِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, and it distances you, it cuts you off from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you're objecting to everybody else, because that negativity is going to come onto your own soul. وَلَا إِنْكَارَ عَلَى أَحَدٍ إِلَّا إِنْ ارْتَكَبَ مَحْظُورًا صَرَّحَتْ بِهِ الشَّرِيعَةُ الْمُطَهَّرَةُ. And there should not be any judgment or blame done on anyone, objection against anyone, unless they have done something that the Sharia has explicitly prohibited. So, those examples, when he says don't blame a person for the way that they're clothing, right? Or maybe the way that they eat. Sometimes like they eat the kind of like a jungly style of eating, right? Or drinking, or whatever it is. If it's not haram, we really don't have a right to say something. At most we can say, look, it's not my style. It's not my style, but you can't say that it's haram. Why should we not object? Because we might say that, well, even if it's not haram, there's tariqah, there's saliqa, there's adab, there's all of this. فَإِنَّ النَّاسَ خَاصٌ, because people are in groups. Some people are khas, some people are the elect. وَخَاصُ الْخَاص, and some people are the elect of the elect. And وَمُبْتَدِئٌ, and some people are beginners. وَمُنْتَهِن, and some people are those who have reached the end of the path. Some are وَمُتَشَبِّهٌ, some are simply just impersonating others. وَمُتَحَقِّقٌ, and others are people who have actually achieved excellence. There's some who are the real deal, there's others who are just imitating people. وَالْقَوِيُّ لَا يَقْدِرُ عَلَى الْمَشْيِ مَعَ الضَّعِيفِ, and the spiritually strong, they can't keep up with the spiritually weak. وَعَكْسُهُ, and the weak can't keep up with the strong. وَاللَّهُ تَعَالَى يَرْحَمُ الْبَعْضَ بِالْبَعْضِ, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows mercy to some people through others. What this is saying is that each person is at a different stage in life, in a different stage of spirituality, in a different stage of their deen. As long as they're not doing something haram, don't judge them. Because what you can do is you can turn them off, and then they might not, whatever progress they made, it may backfire. And on the other hand, if you do something, if you show kindness to somebody, and you have no idea about it, it may make them very positive. Sometimes in Tawheed Center, there's like reviews, right? On the Google, you go there. So I just seen the other day, somebody, they put a review. They said that I brought my ex-husband and my children here. And she said, with like her words in there, is my ex-husband is black and he has dreadlocks, right? And then she said that Imam Muhaj was very kind to him and said, "We'll stay in touch." If I'm honest, I don't even remember when this interaction was. Like, I mean, I don't know, like who it was, what it was. It was just probably somebody, but I mean, my name was there. But what I think is the person they wrote such a nice review about it to me. Like I said, I honestly, I thought, I had no recollection of this, right? But at the same time, it meant something to someone. Now, I think what the person was thinking was that based on appearance, because she put that in, she probably thought that some judgment might be passed or whatever. And unfortunately, maybe they had a bad experience somewhere else, right? But because that didn't happen, inshallah, it will help the person, whoever it is, because I really don't remember, it will help move them forward, right? So all of us have to, when we see somebody doing something wrong, not even wrong, if it's something that, something that, again, it's not ideal. We don't have to dant everybody for every, single thing. For example, a person, they come to namaz, they don't have a topi on. It's sunnah to wear a topi, right? It is sunnah to wear a topi. But if it's some kid, but mashallah, he came in, I'm not talking about you. So there's somebody, it's a kid, like, mashallah, they came in the masjid. Okay, they don't have a topi, but they're wearing a jubba, still some type of Islamic clothing. Yeah, if it's my student, I'll say something to them. I'll be more stern on them. But for the armed person, shouldn't push them too much because we might turn them away. We could give general nasihat or, etc. Maulana Umar Palanpuri, rahmatullahi alayh, those who are involved in Jamaat, they know his name. There was one brother that started to come and frequent them a lot. Like it'd sit in the ta'aleem and go on gusht and this and that. So he didn't have a beard. So Maulana Umar Palanpuri, rahmatullahi alayhi, he told him, it would be so nice if your face would look so beautiful if you grow a beard. He said after that the guy never came again. He never came again. And so then Maulana Umar Palanpuri said, I put a kacha parhata on the tawwa and it wasn't hot enough, right? He said I put like a bread on the stove and it wasn't ready, so it just ruined it, right? Maulana Shaf Ali Thanvi, rahmatullahi alayhi, he mentioned something like this as well. He said one time he was on a station waiting to go on a journey, and when he was on this journey, there was this man who was very intelligent looking and stuff like that. He was Muslim, but he didn't pray. Like it was known that he didn't pray. So then it came time for Maghrib. So his student was with him. He told Hazrat Thanvi, he's like, let's pray. And then he said, aren't you going to tell this guy to pray? And then he said, he didn't say anything. He said, no, he's not going to say anything. After namaz, because this guy didn't pray with him, he went back to him. He sat with him and he kept talking with him about the things that they were talking before with the same interest and kindness and everything. He said, I heard later on that this man never missed another namaz in his life. So Hazrat Thanvi said, look, if I made him pray that namaz, he would have prayed that namaz with me. He would have prayed it, but he would have been turned off and he wouldn't pray after that. But because he missed that one namaz and I treated him that way afterward, alhamdulillah, he never missed another namaz in his life. So we have to use that, and I'll just finish the paragraph. And he says, وَمِن كَلَامِ الْإِمَامِ سَعِيدِ ibn al-Musayyib. And Sa'id bin Musayyib, one of the leaders of the Tabi'un, he said, مَا مِن شَرِيفٍ وَلَا ذِي فَضْلٍ. There is no noble person or person of virtue إِلَّا وَفِيهِ نَقْصٌ, except that he has some defect in him. وَلَكِنْ مَنْ كَانَ فَضْلُهُ أَكْثَرَ مِن نَقْصِهِ. However, the person whose virtue outweighs their flaws, ذَهَبَ نَقْصُهُ لِفَضْلِهِ. The deficiencies become overshadowed by the virtues. So we shouldn't look down on people. Why? Because each person, no matter how good they are, they have their own deficiencies, right? But when a person is good, when a person has so much virtue, eventually, inshallah, it overshadows their deficiencies. But that doesn't mean that the deficiencies are non-existent. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be people whose mistakes are hidden. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be good and be a means of inviting others to nearness to Him. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.